disabled for you. This means if you shared this meeting externally, this can be turned off by your IT department. But there is an option there if it was turned on. But I'm going to make a very simple meeting. I'm just going to hit none. Down below here, this is not going to be a recurring meeting. It's not going to happen every weekday, every day. If it is a recurring meeting for yourself, however, you do have a customization option if you want to choose a very specific date and time. But there's going to be a channels area I want to talk a little bit more about in depth. So currently I'm making a private meeting, which means only the individuals up here at the top will receive this meeting invite. Alternatively, let's say you wanted to make a public meeting for everybody in a team channel. In this channel area, you can go down your list. These are all the teams that I'm part of. I can grab a specific channel under that team and publicly share this meeting. What that means is if, let's say, in this concept team, I have 100 team members in that team. If I share it to the general channel, all 100 members of this team have access to the general channel, which means they can access the meeting. They can see any conversations, any files that were shared, any interaction with an application, and they can also choose to join that meeting. So if you want to make a public meeting, you're going to add the team channel in this list here. Now, alternatively, you can jump in a team as well and schedule the meeting from there, but I'll show that just a little bit later. Under location, if you have locations enabled at your org, you're going to add in a location. Under meeting details, you're just going to type in this meeting area. So for me, I'm just going to say this meeting is to cover our project, our upcoming project details. At the top right, once you're done building out your meeting, you're just going to send it off. So on my meeting in real time, you can see here it's going to load up. And now I have my project synced, all finished. It's going to auto generate that link for me so I can send this in an Outlook email to somebody else. Now, when it comes to re-editing a meeting you just created, all I have to do is go back, jump here into edit. And now from here, I can add in more individuals. I can change the title. On the right-hand side, it's showing me everybody who is a part of this meeting. I can go ahead and add a location, set the recurrence, but there are a couple of options missing. So from here, you can see I can't re-add it back into a channel. Once I create the meeting from here, this is going to be a now private meeting. At the top, there are some tabs that I want to get into, but for the meantime, I know I've been talking for quite a bit here. Hey, do we have any questions I can answer so far?
All right, Matt. So I'm actually in the process of answering this question, but it might be easier if you do this live. When scheduling a meeting, do you have to add a channel?
No, so you don't have to add a channel. If you choose not to add a channel, you are making that a private meeting, which means only the individuals that you've added manually will have access to that meeting, unless you copied the link and you share it to somebody else. If you add a channel, you are making that meeting public. So if I go ahead and close out for a moment, I think it's better if I just show everybody. If I move to the Teams area, let's say I moved in my general channel in Teams. If I go down to new conversation, if you hit more options here, what you'll notice that in the chat area in Microsoft Teams, let's say I opened a chat with Diego. I want to show this first, actually. Down below, you will see an option here to schedule a meeting. So if I hit this option, it's going to take you to the meeting creation, and it's going to add the individual that you went ahead and were just talking to in the chat. But I can still add in more people if I want to. Now, when you're in a team, if you were to include a team channel in the meeting creation process, it's going to create a window down below. So once the meeting starts, everybody can just open this Teams channel, take a look in the post area, and they'll see that meeting going on. So they can just jump into the meeting and they can see all the conversations that are going on. Now, at the top right, when you're inside a Teams channel, you will have an option to directly schedule a meeting from this channel. Or you can hit Meet Now to meet with everybody at one time. So if I hit Schedule a meeting from a Teams channel, it's going to take me back to the Teams creation process here for meetings. And down below, you'll see the Concept Team channel has been auto added. So you can either do this from your calendar or you can just jump into a team. All right, Danny, hope to answer that question.
Yes, it did.
Okay,
That person says thank you in the chat.
sure.
We have one other question that just came in. Is there a month view option for your calendar?
All right, so let me go ahead and read that other question, Danny. Let's see. Is there a month view option for your calendar? So if I go back to calendar in Teams really quickly, let me go ahead and jump back. 1 second, my machine is just reloading for a second.
I
There
just
we
want to
go.
make sure you're able to hear me, right?
Yeah, Danny, I can hear you.
Okay,
So I'm going
cool.
to go back
Sorry.
on my calendar to answer that question real quick. So at the top right, when you're in Microsoft Teams, you can view the day, the work week, or the week. So if you want a month view, or let's say you want a scheduling view, you're going to have to go over to Outlook. So I can just open Outlook for a second. Remember, your calendar is synced right up to Outlook. Now, if I go down to calendar in Outlook, on the right, I have a bunch of calendars that are overlaid together. Over on the right, you will see in Outlook, you have a couple of more options. So here is that month view that you'd be looking for. So from here, I can grab month view, and now I can see my calendar and any other overlaid calendars that I have together. I hope that answered that question.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Yep, and person confirmed.
All right.
Other than that, we don't have any other questions in the chat. I just want to remind all our participants that are on the call today, if you do have any questions about anything that we've covered, we have the chat button at the top. By hitting that, you're able to ask me a question directly. Either I'll answer it in the chat area or during one of these question breaks, we'll pass it on to Matt and have him go over it live. But for now, Matt, uh, you are good to continue.
All right. Thanks, Danny. So jumping back in, something I briefly just want to mention. Microsoft Teams is your hub for teamwork. It's supposed to bring in many aspects of Microsoft 365 into one hub. So naturally, there are going to be some limited options compared to the native application. So in this case, you are looking at your calendar, but Outlook will have some more extensive features. So if you need that month view or something like, let's say, sharing your calendar or creating a Microsoft 365 group, you will have to go into Outlook for some of those features. But jumping back into Teams, let's go ahead and join that team that I just created. I mean, that meeting. So let me go ahead and find it, my project sync. I'm going to jump inside. Now, when you're joining a Teams meeting, let me go ahead and expand this. When you join today's session, you're going to recognize a lot of the features that I'm showing today. But from here, when you're joining a meeting, you will either choose to turn on or off your camera and choose your audio options when joining. Now, with computer audio, this is just going to take your current microphone that you have plugged in. With phone audio, this is for dialing in on a device. Room audio will take in any speakers or external microphones that you have, or you can choose not to have any audio in this case. Once you join, you're going to have all your meeting tools available to you. Some things might be restricted. This will depend on the settings that you manage on the back end as the organizer of the meeting. But once you join the meeting, it's going to auto start a timer just to let you know how long the meeting's been going on. It's going to show any profile icons of anyone who has joined. And at the top right, you're going to have your different meeting features. So first, let's jump into people or show participants. This is going to be everybody who is currently in your meeting. Now down below, anyone who was manually invited, you can hover over their name and request them to join the meeting, or they can just join on their own. At the top, there is a search bar. This is the same search bar that we've seen a million times already. All you're going to do is type in somebody to join this meeting. So let's say my coworker Lee was not manually invited. I can still just go to the search bar and add him into the meeting. Let's say that's a scenario where I forgot to add him in. So you don't have to manually invite someone to still bring them into the Teams meeting. Now with sharing invite option, this is just going to give you a quick link to copy and to share out to somebody else if they want to join that way. Let's say you got a meeting in Outlook from a customer, you can share them the link and they can join right in. Now my coworker Nestor went ahead and joined me. I can see his name here. Now at the top, if I swap over to chat, you'll actually see a little bubble here. So if you don't have chat open, you will receive a little icon here that'll let you know a chat is going on. So in the chat area, this functions just like chat would in a private chat. Here, you're just going to type in any questions. You can type in any comments. This is your collaboration area inside. So down below here, I have my attachment tool. I have my compose box. I have all the same features you'll find normally in Microsoft Teams. Now, Nestor went ahead and said hello. I'm going to give him a quick reaction over his message. Now, when someone's sending you a chat message, you can directly reply to a specific message. So instead of having this sort of back-to-back conversation, if I chose to directly reply to Nestor's comment, I can hit reply. Down below here, I'm going to say, hey, thanks for joining. I can go ahead and send off that comment. And this is what a direct reply looks like. Or you can just send a basic message. So now let's go ahead and close out. Let's go over reactions. So when you have participant view open, or if you have your main window open, reactions are a quick way to quickly acknowledge what someone's saying, or you can raise your hand. Let's say my coworker Nestor said something here, and I agree with him. If I hit the like reaction, down on my profile icon, you will see the reaction quickly pop up in an animation. That's a quick reaction to something. I could do the heart. Now, if you have a question, you can choose to raise your hand. This will highlight your name in the participant view, and it's going to highlight your profile icon. This is letting the other individual know that you have a question. So as the organizer, which is myself, I can lower somebody's hand manually, and the individual can also lower their hand as well once you've answered their question. That's a great way just to not come off microphone and interrupt somebody. Now, some of the more options that we do have is you do have your camera, your microphone option, and then you have a sharing capability. When it comes to sharing, it's going to include 3 initial options, which are screen, window, and include computer sound. So when you share your screen, this is going to share everything that you have. So it's going to share your entire window, and it's going to show any other application you have open. Let's say you have Microsoft Teams, Excel, OneNote, Microsoft Edge, and another external application open. Everyone's going to see everything on that screen, no matter what. So there might be some privacy concerns when you're sharing your entire screen. So when I present my own sessions, like I'm doing now, I choose to share a specific window. So when I'm sharing a PowerPoint presentation, I'm going to select PowerPoint from this list. That means you, as the audience, will only see my PowerPoint. You wouldn't see any other window that I opened on my screen. So that's the big purpose of window. You can jump in here, you can share a specific application or screen, and they're only going to see that content on the other end. So please be careful when you do share your entire screen or if you're sharing a specific window. Now, including computer sound, if you're playing a YouTube video or a Microsoft streaming video, if you don't have include computer sound on before you share your screen, the individuals who are listening to you will not be able to hear the sound from that video. They're going to hear you on your microphone, but they're not going to hear the sound from the content that you're sharing. So those are 3 important distinctions I like to make initially here when I'm showing sharing content. Now down below with PowerPoint Live and Microsoft Whiteboard, Microsoft Whiteboard is going to be an external app that you can bring in. This is an app made by Microsoft. With Whiteboard, you and your team members can write notes together. With PowerPoint Live, this is a built-in version of PowerPoint. So if I wanted to share, let's say, a PowerPoint presentation, down below, I'm going to grab this PowerPoint. I'm going to turn on PowerPoint Live. On the left, it takes a couple of seconds to load, but this is an example of me sharing content inside of a Teams meeting. On the left-hand side, since I'm the person that is sharing this content, I can see some details. So down below here, I have an arrow key where I can swap between my different slides. On the right, you have that laser pointer. Now, anything you're doing, your audience will see it in real time. You have your different highlighting features where you can highlight something on your PowerPoint. You have your eraser tool, a pen tool. With this cursor icon, this is going to show your classic cursor on your screen. And down below, you can quickly swap between different images of your slide. Now, when it comes to other people being able to move through the slide on their own, let's say I want to be in full control. At the top left, you'll see a stop sharing option. This will just stop sharing my PowerPoint. You have a private view. This will prevent participants from moving through the PowerPoint presentation on their own. So if I turn this on, I can swap between the different slides, and now everybody is forced to follow along with me. With pop out, you can actually pop out this content into a separate window if you prefer sharing your screen this way. And now with layout, here down below with content only, this is just going to show your content to the audience. So when it comes to presenting your PowerPoint through PowerPoint Live, it's a very simple process. Everything's a bit straightforward. It's all available to hear right inside the Teams meeting. So we're going to go ahead and stop sharing this. Let's move over to the right. Now with sharing, there is one more option I do want to show. Your OneDrive is connected right inside your Teams meeting. So you can actually browse your OneDrive, your personal cloud storage. I can go ahead and find a PowerPoint presentation from here. I can go into my different folders and I can share this content to other individuals as a presentation. So you have a lot of flexibility when it comes to sharing content. You can either share your screen, a window, you could use PowerPoint Live, you can also grab a file, and you can even bring in external applications like Microsoft Whiteboard. So if I were to go into Microsoft Whiteboard, since it's built right inside my Teams meeting, it's going to load Whiteboard. And now me and my coworker Nestor can work together inside Whiteboard. Since I'm using a Surface device, I have a touchscreen. So from here, I can just select one of my pencils. I'm just going to say hello. Little exclamation point. And now when I'm working with my coworker, you will now see Nestor's name has this whiteboard open. So he can jump in here and add his own text in. This will happen in real time. So you can see down below, Nestor is currently typing in his message. Whiteboard is a great collaboration application that you can use. So you can all draw together, write your notes, work on your specific project. On the left, you can actually bring in other things like a reaction, different text boxes. You can bring in different shapes, a document as well, alongside images. Now, with the settings icon in Whiteboard, if you do want to limit some options, down below here, you can actually turn off whether or not other participants can edit alongside you. So let's say you only want to write on Whiteboard. You don't want anybody else interfering. You can turn that off or on right from here. Now, anything you have in Whiteboard, you can export it as an image. But if you wanted to bring in, let's say, another application, we're not talking about Whiteboard. From here, at the top, you're going to see an option to add an application. So if I select this window, I can actually search for any applications that have connectivity to Teams meetings. So down below, if I hit more apps, it's going to bring me to a separate window. And now I can see several applications I can bring in. Every app won't work in Microsoft Teams meetings. I just want to note that. It has to be optimized for meetings. So a popular one that I like to use is Microsoft Forms. So I can go back, I can hit applications, and let's bring in Microsoft Forms. When you're adding in Forms, you're just going to hit save. Or if you're adding in another application, it's actually going to give you a brand new button here at the top alongside your other ones. So it makes it very easy to access Microsoft Forms. So in Forms, usually you create quizzes, Q&As, polls. So let's say I wanted to bring in a poll or a rating system in my meeting. There are a lot of different uses for Microsoft Forms and polls inside Teams meetings. It's really just going to come down to what kind of option you want to use. Polls does give you several different templates to make everything a little bit easier. I'm just scrolling through some of them. So from here at the top, let's go ahead and add in this multiple choice poll. It's for icebreakers. I'm going to go ahead and click it, and now I can edit this poll and add in any options that I want to use. But since we're a bit Scrunched on time here. I'm actually just going to go ahead and launch this preset one. And now as the poll loads, it's going to notify everybody in the Teams meeting. You can see here on the left, it's going to give everybody a box where they can now choose their poll option. So we're just asking, how is everybody feeling today? Everybody's going to choose their option. For me, I'm feeling great. Once I submit my option, now I'll be able to see the poll results. Since I am the organizer of this poll, it's currently live. You can hide the results from other individuals if you want to. You can also show them. That's going to depend on what options you choose. But down below here, if you hit the drop-down menu, you can see the poll and then view your results. Now with more options, you can choose to remove and or rename this poll. You can go ahead and bring in another one. But that's how you bring in some applications inside your Teams meeting. This is going to expand your collaboration options you can have with your fellow peers or with your customers. So before I continue on, I want to take a brief pause again, Danny. Do we have any questions I can answer so far?
All right. So we did have one request for a demonstration. Since you have whiteboard already up, when you wrote hello, you did it using your finger. If you can give a quick demonstration on how to write with the mouse.
Yep, so with the mouse, when you're in whiteboard, it's going to auto recognize your mouse. So you can see on the screen, it's a bit slower. I can't really make it bigger inside whiteboard, but my cursor is here. So you can just click and drag and draw with your cursor. Now, I didn't use my cursor initially because it's a lot harder to draw with my mouse cursor. It's a lot more sloppy, but as you can see, I'm attempting my best with my cursor. But if you have a touchscreen device enabled, let's say you're on a Surface device like I am with a touchscreen, or you're on a tablet or your phone device, all you have to do is just automatically use your finger. It's going to auto recognize what option that you're currently using. I hope that answered that question.
That was perfect. That's exactly what I explained. Writing on a whiteboard is definitely a lot easier with a stylus, but you can absolutely use your mouse. We have one other question that just came in. How do I name and save my whiteboard for future use?
All right, so when it comes to this whiteboard, there are two important distinctions I want to make. You can export anything that you are currently doing in whiteboard. So here on the right-hand side under settings, I can export this content. So you're going to choose the proper image size, resolution. You can go ahead and export it. And now it's going to be saved over into Microsoft Teams. So once it's saved as a downloadable file, that is when you can go into your file explorer. You're going to check your downloads. And then from there, you can rename this file. However, when you are inside of a meeting, the title of the exported file is going to be the name of your meeting. So in this case, mine's project synced, but again, you can change this later once you actually download it as a file you can share. That answered that question, Dan.
Yep, perfect. Other than that, there's one other question that I'm answering on the side. But other than that, we don't have any other questions. Just one more reminder to our participants, if you do have any questions about anything we've covered today, you can always ask your question in the chat. And yes, today's session will be recorded. It's currently being recorded. And other than that, you're good to go, Matt.
All right. So from here, I actually want to show my file explorer really quickly. See here in my downloads, I have that project synced from whiteboard. Now I can just jump in. I can go ahead and rename it and give it any changes. This is now a file you can share to other people. So let's go ahead and close out. Some of the last other options we have inside Microsoft Teams meetings is now our backend settings, breakout rooms, and finally, where can you access all the content in meetings once the meeting is over? So first with breakout rooms, this is available to you for creation into the desktop application of Microsoft Teams. Now we do offer a separate breakout rooms training, again, where we spend about an hour talking about everything a little bit slower. But essentially, breakout rooms are going to create separate spaces in your Teams meeting. Now, sometimes that sounds a little bit confusing to people. So for me, I think it's better if I just show everyone what a breakout room looks like. First, you're going to choose how many rooms you want to create. In this list, you can create up to 50 different breakout rooms. So from here, I'm just going to do 3. Next, you're going to choose how your participants are assigned to those breakout rooms. You can have Teams meetings auto-assign people to a room, or you can go ahead and manually choose and add people into a room yourself. Auto-assign is better when you have, let's say, 100, maybe 200 people in a Teams meeting. That's going to be a bit hard to manual assign, but you can actually do this before the meeting starts. You can do it during the meeting, and you can do it after the meeting. So if you want to pre-create these meetings before the meeting actually starts, you can actually open breakout rooms and do that. But let's go ahead and I'm going to choose manual assign, and let's generate some of those breakout rooms. So they're going to give you another window. It's going to show you all your participants. So in this case, I only have Nestor for right now. I can choose which of the 3 rooms I want to assign him to. If you close out, you actually don't have to use that window. On the right, breakout rooms is going to open, and you're going to see the assigned participants view right there. So you can access this small window at any time. When you have a breakout room, these are smaller Teams meetings. They're exactly the same as the one that I'm inside right now. So when you go into a breakout room, you're going to have every single tool that I've shown so far. You're not going to lose any of that functionality. However, as the organizer of the meeting, I can choose whether or not someone can leave a breakout room on their own or if I have to bring them out of that breakout room. So to demo that really quickly, let's take room number 1. Currently, this room is closed. If I hit more options over that room, I can choose to rename or delete this room before it's been opened. So I'm going to call this our whiteboard room. Let's say this room is for everyone working on the whiteboard application together. I can rename it whiteboard. Now I'm going to go ahead and assign Nestor to that whiteboard room. There we go. So even though Nestor has been assigned to the room, he's not going to go anywhere until I open the room. So when I open a room, Nestor will be given a 10-second prompt or notification, letting him know that in 10 seconds, he will be added to that breakout room. So let's go ahead and open the room. It's going to take a couple of seconds here. Just going to wait for Nestor to jump in. But once Nestor is inside that room, he will be removed from the main Teams meeting. It's just going to be me. All right, there we go. Now Nestor is inside that breakout room. When a breakout room is open, it's going to highlight in green, letting you know it's open. Now, if someone is not in a room, it's empty, that room cannot be opened. There is a mass open room option. So let's say you have 50 rooms and you have 100 people split evenly across all 50 of those rooms. When you mass open all rooms, they're all going to open at the same time. Or you can just open a room on your own individually. Now, while rooms are open, you can still add in another room with the plus symbol. On the right-hand side, the rooms will have to be closed, however, if you want to go ahead and delete rooms or start the process from the beginning. On the left here, there is an announcement feature. So let's say you want to notify everybody in a breakout room about something very important. This announcement feature is going to send an announcement to all rooms at the same time as long as they are open. So from here, I can say, I will be joining some of the rooms shortly. Please finish your work. Now, teachers often use this feature to, let's say, to let their students know, hey, you have 5 more minutes before class is over. Please wrap up your work. Or if you just had to say everybody, hey, this meeting is going to be extended for another 30 minutes. Whatever your notification/announcement is, that will send immediately to everybody. So now I'm going to join this room that Nestor is inside of. So now I have the breakout room open. And let's go ahead and let's pin both of these at the same time next to each other. So on the left-hand side here, this is my project sync. This is the main Teams meeting that I was just in. Now, if I take whiteboard, let's go ahead and pull it to the side here. My computer is being a little wacky here. There we go. On the right-hand side, you'll notice they're both Teams meetings. They're not different in any way. The only difference is that this is a mini Teams meeting built inside the main Teams meeting. That's essentially what a breakout room is. So everyone can collaborate in this breakout room. They can share different files. They can talk to each other, add different chat messages. And then once they're finished, they can either leave the breakout room, or if I had the setting changed, I will have to bring them out myself. So I'm actually going to share something in this breakout room. From here, you can see my notification that I sent. At the top, you can see Nestor shared a GIF. Once you're done sharing content, so from here, I'm just going to go to my attachment tool. I'm going to jump into OneDrive. Let me grab a file to share to Nestor really quickly. I'm going to say, hey, Nestor, please take a look at this file. Of course, if I could spell here. There we go. Fix my correction. And now let's send it off to Nestor. At the top, since this room is called Whiteboard, I am going to share the Whiteboard application. I just want to add something in Whiteboard really quickly. So let's open Whiteboard. Again, you're looking at the same exact thing that I just did in the main Teams meeting. You don't lose any functionality. And from here, I'm just going to write. Actually, let me make the meeting a little bit bigger. There we go. So from here, we're just going to grab that tool like I did from before. I'm going to grab my pencil. I'm going to adjust the color. And now I'm just going to say hello again. The same stuff I've been doing. But now I'm going to leave this breakout room once I'm finished sharing any content. When I return to the breakout room as the organizer, I'm going to be on hold in the main Teams meeting. What that means is that anyone who is in the main Teams meeting, they will not be able to hear me talk until I hit resume. So on the right, let's go ahead and let's bring Nestor back to the main Teams meeting. He should be done inside the breakout room. I'm going to close the breakout room. Now Nestor in 10 seconds is going to return back to the main Teams meeting. All right, so there we go. He's going to be coming back. So once Nestor is back, that's a quick demo of what breakout rooms are. They're just smaller Teams meetings built right inside your main Teams meeting. You don't lose any functionality between the two. You can still share all your same content and collaborate together. But that's pretty much everything that we have inside our Teams meeting. Once we're finished, a common question that I normally get is, how do I access all of this content, right? In the main Teams meeting, we shared many files, we had a lot of conversations, we had a lot of recordings, but we also had a lot of content in those breakout rooms too. Where do I access all this content once we're done with the meeting? On the right-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and end the meeting for everybody. That means everybody is going to be booted out of the meeting. And now when I return back to Microsoft Teams, there are going to be two specific areas you're going to take a look at. First, if I go to the calendar, let me go ahead and find that meeting I was just in. There we go, my project synced. I'm going to edit this meeting. At the top right, you will see several different tabs called Meeting Notes, Whiteboard, Attendance, Breakout Rooms, and Polls. So in this editing window, I can go to Whiteboard. Let it load here for a second. Now I can see all the whiteboard content we did in that main Teams meeting. Next, I can go to Attendance. Under Attendance, it's going to load for a second. There we go. I can see all the statistics around who attended this meeting. So down at the bottom left, I can see it was myself, Irvin. I can see Nestor. I can see exactly when Irvin joined, when he last left, how long he was in the meeting, and what his role was in the organization. I can see how many attendants participated, the start and end time, the meeting duration, average attendance time. These statistics can be downloaded and exported so you can share this out to somebody else. Let's say you have to report these details to your manager. You can just grab it from here and you can see exactly what everyone was doing. When it comes to those breakout rooms, I can go to breakout rooms. Down at the bottom left here, I can see every single breakout room that I created. So we have a whiteboard room, room number 2, room number 3. At the top left, this is where you can actually go and set up these breakout rooms before the meeting starts. So at the top left here, you can see all my participants. I can assign participants to those different breakout rooms ahead of time. But when I want to view the details of a breakout room, let's go ahead and grab this whiteboard one. From here, I can delete the room. You can manage any backend settings. It's going to take you over to another window. It's going to ask you to sign in to set up those details. And then next, I can go ahead and edit this breakout room. When you're editing it, it's just allowing you to change the name. Now, lastly, on the right, I want to show polls for a moment. If you had any polls in your main Teams meeting, it's going to show them from here so you can take a look at all the data, all the responses to those different polls. This is where you're going back and you're taking a look at all the content from that meeting. Now, if you want to find chat, let's say you want to look at specific recordings, files that were shared. Here at the top left, if you go into the chat area, on the left in my chat history, you see the whiteboard breakout room. Let me open it. Now I can see the chat. I can see the files that were shared, all the GIFs, memes, recordings. At the top right here, I can view any files that were shared in that breakout room. I can view the specific attendance for this breakout room as well. So if you want to view all the details for the entire meeting itself, you can go into Calendar, do so, or you can grab the meeting chat from here. Now, if you want to look at the specific data for that specific breakout room, you're just going to open the breakout room chat and see the data from here. So there are a lot of different ways you can access all that content once the meeting is finished or before the meeting. So from here, I want to take a brief pause. Do we have any questions so far on what I've been covering?
All right, Matt. Sorry, question just came in. I'm reading through it. And I'm going to pass this one on to you. Can you schedule a meeting with one group of people and then schedule another group for the same meeting, but for a portion of that meeting, let's say the last half hour? So I have an idea how I would approach this, but I'm curious to see what you would say. So you're having some technical issues.
Yeah,
I'll give you a second.
let me look at that question here. Let me open it up real quick.
All right. Yeah, it's a bit of a long one. I didn't want to read the whole thing.
Oh, yeah, I can take a look real quick. All right. Can you schedule a meeting with one group of people from, okay. All right, so I see what he's saying. So when it comes to a Teams meeting, you're going to set the duration for that meeting. Now, when it comes to people like joining in for a specified block of time in that meeting, that's not a function you necessarily have. You would have to probably go the old-fashioned way in that scenario. So let's say from 1 o'clock to 1:15, it's these three specific people that have to be in the meeting. They would have to hop off the meeting at that time frame, and then the other people would have to join. There's no way to kind of set different blocks of times and invite people for those specific block of times. That's sort of getting into bookings. Bookings is a separate application we offer where you would create designated time periods. So let's say you made a booking for 1 o'clock to 1:15. You can have a meeting associated with that block of time in bookings. So then once that booking session's over, your next session's going to start. That would be kind of a way to work around that.
Yep, perfect. That's pretty much what I had in mind. I just felt like you would explain it a lot better than I would.
It's all good. What other questions do we have?
And one more came in. Can attendees of a meeting, not the organizer, but the attendees, download the breakout room, whiteboard contents, etc.?
From my knowledge, it's the organizer that has to export that data because you are the one who essentially has ownership control of the content in that meeting. Because that would apply for also other content as well. So let's say you recorded the meeting, right? The organizer is the one that has to go out and download that recording. They're the one who has access to those backend features. Let's say you wanted a attendee report of something, right? Like you wanted to see all that backend stuff. That's on you as the organizer. People can
Yeah.
see that. People can see that content. Sure, they can still see the whiteboard at any given time, and they can still add stuff to the whiteboard. But exporting will be that's a management feature essentially.
Yep. And that person mentioned breakout rooms specifically. That would not be accessible to attendees. Certain content would. So, for example, files that are shared, in the meeting, whiteboard content, you'll be able to see them, but you won't be able to download them.
Yep.
Yep. But other than that, no other questions. You're clear to wrap up once you're ready.
All right. So the last thing I want to show today is I want to go into the calendar area. I want to go back to that meeting. So I want to go back here into editing for a moment. So again, in this editing area, this is where you are going to manage all of your backend settings for the meeting, the organizing stuff. Now, on the right-hand side here, you're going to see 3 little bubbles. You will see these 3 little bubbles while you're in the Teams meeting as well. Here, if you select meeting options, what this is going to do is that this is going to open a separate window where you're going to have to sign into your account and you can manage some other features. Let's say you wanted to turn off microphones. You wanted to turn off cameras. You wanted to turn off the chat area in the meeting. So you can really design the meeting for your specific purpose. If I choose to rejoin this meeting and I go up to the top right and actually show what it looks like in a meeting, under more actions, you have your device settings, your meeting notes, your gallery, your large gallery. The reason why I don't demo these is because I don't have an adequate amount of people in this meeting. But this is where you're going to find recording, live captioning for accessibility settings. Here is where you can mute notifications. So these are going to be a lot of your other general settings when you hit more. But if you select meeting options specifically, this is where you can turn off a lot of different features. So in meeting options, you have lobbies. Let's say you want to have a lobby. That means if someone joins your meeting, the organizer or other people in the meeting will have to let you into the meeting. You can't automatically join. So from here, you would turn off whether or not you want to let people bypass the lobby, or you want an announcement when someone leaves the meeting. Under co-organizers, let's say you want to have someone who is a co-organizer. You just don't want to have yourself managing everything. You want to have some backup. You're going to grab someone's name, so I can grab Nestor from here. And now he has co-organization opportunities. With presenting, let's say you want to turn off microphones, cameras, automatic recording. At the top, you can limit who can actually present in your meeting. So people from your organization. Or if I choose specific people, that means only me and Nestor or me and Adele can automatically present. Now, since Nestor is set as a core organizer, he's not going to show up on this list because now he's my fellow organizer in this meeting. But if I selected, let's say, Patty, that means only me, Nestor, and Patty will be able to present in this meeting. You can really limit what individuals can do in your meeting since you technically have full control. So if I scroll a little bit more, you do have an option to turn off chat if you don't want that extra collaboration tool. You have reactions, you can enable Q&A. So once you're done setting up all of your settings, please make sure at the bottom right to hit save so those changes can actually be enabled. Now these changes, as you can see, can be turned on or off while you have a meeting open. So you can set it up before a meeting, during a meeting, or after the meeting, depending on your personal scenario. But let me go ahead and end this meeting. That is everything that we have when it comes to Microsoft Teams meetings. Remember that you have full control over your meetings at any given time. You're just going to jump into the back end here and you're going to set it up after a little bit of time. But I really want to open this up for Q&A. I just want to see if we have any more questions that I can answer. This could be around any content that I've talked about today.
All right, Matt. First thing I want to say is, great content today. You really did a great job. Other than what we've gone through today, we've covered all of our questions. So I'd say we're good to wrap once you're ready.
All right. So once again, everybody, thank you very much for coming to today's training. We do have more trainings that are coming up in the future. We're going to talk about breakout rooms, some other type of trainings as well. So we hope to see you in those sessions. But if anyone has any last minute questions, please feel free to let us know. One thing I'm going to do, however, is I'm going to share a link in the chat here. When I share in the chat, that is going to be a link for co-organizers. We don't go too in depth with co-organizers, but that link is going to show you exactly what a co-organizer can do alongside yourself as an organizer. So there are some slight restrictions, but for the most part, a co-organizer can pretty much do most of the things you can do. But that link is going to specify what they can or cannot do. But the recording is going to be sent to your organization. So if you want to watch this at a later time, you can do so. But I'm just going to hang out here for a couple more minutes. If you have any last minute questions, let me know. But I do want to respect everybody's time. So if you are hopping off, have a good day. Thanks, everybody.